馬車迎えに来るの迎えに来るのね誰かが私を連れて行くのね白い花の道へ風のふるさとへ連れて行くのね連れて行くのね
Yes, it's bitter out there. I've been to the post office. There's a letter from Anne.
What does she say?
I haven't a clue. Won't you read it, please? So, what does she say? Is it bad news?
Hold on, give me a chance to open it. I wish our handwriting was just a little bigger. I never imagined I'd need glasses one day. She wants to stay in Charlottetown for the weekends until the exams are over, but that's only in the spring.
Yes, that's a long time, all right.
After the Christmas holidays, the students from Avonlea decided to stay in town at weekends instead of going home. They were all concerned about the approaching final examinations. Besides, that winter there'd been very heavy snowfalls. From time to time, there were reports of trains being snowbound, and the students were afraid that if they went home by train, they might be delayed by a snowfall and lose a day of their studies. It was a difficult decision for Anne because she was feeling very homesick.
Please believe me, Marilla and Matthew, it's not easy, but what else can I do? At the moment, I must put my studies before everything else. I want to do well in the exams and come back to Green Gables in the spring with my head held high. One thing's clear enough, Matthew. She can't count. The examinations are still 5 months away. A long time.
Yes, it's a very long time.
I know that all the others are staying in Charlottetown, but I don't like it one bit. It would be so much better for her if she came home for the odd weekend. Anne will overdo it. She'll never learn to relax.
I'm afraid so.
I don't want to upset her academic career, but 5 months is far too long.
I agree.
Matthew and Marilla could hardly bear the thought that they wouldn't see Anne for another 5 months. Until now, they'd lived for Anne's weekend visits, and Friday had become their most important day of the week. Anne was aware of how they felt, but at the moment, nothing outweighed the importance of the goal she'd set herself, to come top in the examinations. More importantly, she wanted to win the Avery Scholarship. Anne was competing with Gilbert Blythe for the scholarship, and their marks were equal. They had brought their old rivalry from Avonlea School to Queen's College. But Anne and Gilbert were so evenly matched that it was impossible to say which of them would win the scholarship.
Yes? It's past 1 o'clock. You're the only one out of bed.
I'll go to bed in a minute. I've got one more page to read. I won't be long.
I know I'm only your landlord, but if I were your father, I'd forbid you to work so late into the night.
I know. You have my best interests at heart.
Charlie!
Take that.
Get out! You keep messing
Take that.
Those girls are cackling just like chickens. Gilbert, did you hurt yourself?
I overheard the principal talking in the office yesterday. He said that there were only 3 possible candidates for the medal.
Why 3? Who's the third one? There are only 2 students in the running.
Well, I wouldn't know whether it's 2 or 3. I'm just saying what I heard. Lewis Wilson, Gilbert Blythe, and you, Anne.
Well, I'm betting on Anne for sure. I hope she snatches the medal from under those boys' noses.
I hope so too. Now, don't let us down, Anne. Do your best.
I'm giving it everything I've got, but it won't be easy to beat Gilbert.
The glory and everlasting honour of the Queen's College ladies will be supported on the frail shoulders of Anne Shirley.
Well, I can only hope that my shoulders are up to the task.
Anne, you must adopt a positive attitude. Victory is to the bold and resolute. Remember, she who hesitates is lost.
Why do people have to be so different? It's really not fair. Here's Anne, who's afraid she might only come second. Then there's poor little me, who's struggling just to scrape through.
So, you're definitely the prettiest girl at Queen's College, and that's worth something.
Oh, no, they elected you as the college beauty queen last year, and Jane is the best domestic science student. You're lucky. I'll never be outstanding in anything.
Oh, no, that's not true. Are you saying that you don't know you've been chosen?
Me?
Josie Pye, you should feel honoured that you've been chosen as the girl with the sharpest tongue in Queen's College.
Stella Maynard. I'm not so dim-witted as to think of that as an honour, you know.
I'm not so sure about that.
All right. Stop your noise. I'm coming. Poor little thing. You miss our Anne as much as I do, don't you, my dear little one? But you'll have to wait till spring before you can see her again. And unfortunately, that'll be weeks and weeks. Oh, I know how you feel. It's a long time to wait.
Matthew, what is it? Matthew!
Shouldn't you send Anne a telegram? Of course, nobody imagines that the worst could actually happen, but this bitterly cold weather isn't very good for the heart, Marilla. You're aware of that, aren't you?
Anne couldn't be of much help anyway.
Oh.
I know Anne. She'd only be terribly upset and get under my feet all the time. Besides, she can't leave Queen's College now. The final examinations are around the corner. In any case, Matthew's heart attack came as no surprise to either of us.
Oh, I know that. I'm not stupid. But don't try to shrug it off so lightly. A severe winter like this could be dangerous. Just remember what happened to the Johnsons.
Don't you dare! Don't you ever think about getting Anne to come home for a trifle like this.
Of course.
And you don't even think about getting off that settee.
Yes, I'll be a good boy. If you promise not to call Anne, I'll behave myself. But nobody must tell Anne, and that includes you, Rachel. If she had to come home every time my heart gave a twinge, she'd never concentrate on her studies.
I'm aware of that, Matthew.
But what are you going to do? I suppose you'll have to stay in bed for a few days. There's no other way out. Marilla couldn't manage Green Gables on her own.
That's my problem and no one else's.
Oh, get off your high horse, Marilla. I know what you're thinking. I've had 10 children, and I think that one can be too considerate. Think of yourselves for once.
Rachel, keep your nose out of my business. It's tough luck that Marilla is landed with extra work, but I say Anne stays at college. I can still do light work. And Jerry will tackle the jobs I can't handle.
Oh, dear. I hope you don't think I'm interfering, Marilla. I was only trying to help you. Ever since that scholarship came into the picture, nobody here can think straight. Just tell me one thing, Matthew. Why are you so keen on learning when you can hardly read or write yourself?
Even if she sounded harsh at times, Mrs. Lindy had the Cuthberts' interests at heart. She was a little old-fashioned, and as far as she was concerned, a woman's place was in the home, not at college. Miss Josephine Barry took a completely different view. She approved of Anne's plans and rejoiced in her brilliant marks.
Oh, Anne, I've remembered what I wanted to ask you. How is Matthew?
Oh, why?
I heard his heart was...
Oh, what's the matter with him? Tell me quickly.
Matthew had a heart attack. Marilla found him unconscious in the cowshed. Didn't they write and tell you about it? Matthew has a weak heart. He's had quite a few attacks already. I'm so sorry, Anne. I can see that you didn't have the slightest idea.
I really don't know what to think. Tell me everything you've heard about him, please. How is he at the moment? Every little bit of news is important to me.
That's all I know. But, Anne, no news is good news, that's what I say. We'd know if he was doing badly. I'm sure he's well on the road to recovery by now.
You're only saying that to comfort me.
Of course I'm trying to comfort you, but that doesn't mean I'm telling you lies. Oh, those Cuthberts are such wonderful people. I think I know why they never told you about Matthew's condition. They didn't want to worry you. That must be it. Anne, calm down, child. If there were the slightest reason for worry, I'd know about it. Now sit down and finish your lunch. It'll put some colour into your cheeks.
Anne blamed herself for failing to notice that Matthew was ill. She knew what his illness meant for Marilla, who'd be forced to shoulder more responsibility. Anne was confused. How could college be more important to me than Matthew and Marilla, she thought. She vowed that she wouldn't remain another day, another hour, another minute in Charlottetown until she'd seen how Matthew was getting on with her own eyes.
could you give me such an awful fright? What's the matter? Is something wrong? Are you ill? Say something.
Why didn't you write? Why did I have to hear about it from Miss Barry?
Why should I have? And write about what?
You know what about. You should have told me about Matthew's heart attacks.
Oh, now I understand. Who told you, my dear child?
Diana's aunt. She also told me that Matthew's had a bad heart for years. Oh, Marilla, why did you keep the truth from me? I would never have gone away to college if I'd known about Matthew's weak heart.
Calm down. Calm down. It was very stupid of me not to have written to you right after Matthew had his attack. But it wasn't as bad as you seem to think. Matthew just overdid things a little. He's much better now. There's absolutely no call for concern.
Where is Matthew?
He's sleeping.
Matthew, how are you? Miss Barry told me that you were seriously ill.
Why did she say that? As you can see, I'm feeling wonderful. In fact, I'm perfectly healthy and fit as a fiddle.
Matthew!
It's impossible to keep anything a secret for long here. It's a small world, Matthew.
Miss Barry told me about it. Just like that. I thought my heart had stopped beating for a while.
Well, that's exactly what I thought this evening when you appeared in the door like a ghost.
Let's have no more of this. If there's anyone in this family with few problems, then it's me. Now listen, could we change the subject, please?
Well, if you're right, then right you are. Oh, Anne, I'm so glad you're here. We haven't seen you for 2 whole months, and that's a very long time between visits.
Yes, far too long. It's much too quiet around here without you.
You have no idea. We're so worried about you. must be really terrible for you, Matthew. Are these heart attacks very painful?
Yes, they are, but thank goodness they don't last very long. You don't know the worst part of it. That tremendous fuss my sister Marilla always makes.
But you never told me about this. Why?
I didn't want to.
I hope you go and see the doctor regularly.
Yes, from time to time, but there's not much she can do for me. That's how old age creeps up on you, my girl. Sooner or later, you start going downhill, and you're never quite as healthy as a young person ever again. With some, it's the legs that give in. With others, the head gives trouble. I've got a bad heart.
Anne, if things had been that bad, we couldn't have kept them from you at all. But I'll tell you what the doctor said. He must take it easy, and he mustn't get upset. You've no idea how upset he'd be if he thought it was affecting your studies. But I'm so glad you came home tonight. Now I can tell that old tattletale Rachel Lindy a few home truths.
Yes, sirree.
Poor Rachel.
Anne's surprise visit to Green Gables brought a new atmosphere to the place, happy and lively. For the first time in weeks, Matthew and Marilla began to feel well again with Anne around. After Anne returned to Charlottetown, she studied even harder than before. And then, long before anyone had expected it, spring came to Prince Edward Island.
Today I was reminded of the white way of delight and the lake of shining waters. When I close my eyes, I imagine what it would be like if we were walking in the birch grove. I heard from your aunt that you had a huge birthday party. I'm sorry that I missed it. You must have had a wonderful time with lots of fun. I found a small glass brooch in town, which I think is quite pretty. It's my belated birthday present to you, and I think it will suit you very well. Of course, I'm behind in our correspondence again, but I hope you understand how busy I am studying for the finals. I've got a great deal to revise, and geometry is still my weakest subject. Lots of love, Anne.
Life can be really lousy. The devil must have invented maths. I hate that subject more than my continual craving for
My
cake.
head's a sieve.
Just remember our important motto. Stupid students need to study.
Listen, has anyone noticed that spring has arrived? The first green leaves are out, the flowers are in bloom, and we haven't even seen them.
Someone who's as bad at maths as I am can't afford to think of spring.
That's nonsense. We imagine that the most important thing in the world is studying for final exams, but outside there are things that are more important than any exam, like nature and new life springing up.
Huh.
Just come to the window. The sky has suddenly turned a deep blue colour.
Your springtime sky may be blue, but my math marks are red.
It's a pity, but Josie's right. If we got good marks like you do, Anne, we'd have the time to appreciate spring and the green buds. But when you're like me, you just hope you're going to pass. You don't care how many buds are out. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't even see them. I wouldn't even notice if the sky turned green.
Ruby Gillis, you're not that bad. Have you seen my average mark?
I know what you mean. I've lost 7 pounds because I just can't eat anymore. I tell myself 1,000 times that I'm being silly, but it doesn't seem to help. When I think about the exams, I feel as if I've swallowed a stone. I'm not afraid of my parents, but I'd really like to please them. You see, They're so proud of the fact that their daughter goes to Queen's, and I don't want to disappoint them, especially when it's costing them so much money.
Well, money's the least of my worries. My father's rich enough. Money doesn't matter to him. If I fail this year, I'll simply come back again and repeat. Oh, Anne, I've been meaning to tell you, but I forgot. Professor Freeman said that Gilbert Blythe would win the gold medal, and that Emily Clay had a good chance to win the Avery Scholarship if she keeps doing well. What do you think of that? And he didn't mention you at all.
I shall be eternally grateful to you, Josie, for sharing that fascinating news item with me. Of course you'd love to see me heartbroken, but that won't happen today, unfortunately for poor little you. Not when I'm wondering about more important things, things such as the violet veil. Is it in bloom? Are the fireflies doing their spring dance over the lake of shining waters? Why did we chuck our college books in a corner? If you miss out on spring and it's your own fault, you should be punished for it. Oh, don't you just long to drive on the white way of delight and smell the sweet fragrance of blossoms along the way? To go home. What's the matter with you? Say something. We haven't changed that much just because we go to college these days. The swallows are building their nests in Avonlea now. Soon the first nestlings will hatch. All that is much more important than any Avery Scholarship.
What a lot of tripe she's talking.
Oh, Anne, how lucky you are. Every time I try to imagine the swallows, all I can see is Ruby, who has failed her final college diploma examinations miserably.
Ruby and Jane crying on the train because they don't know how to tell their parents.
And fat Josie Pye.
Then came the day of the final exams.
Bumped into Gilbert Blythe and he was looking extremely smug.
And you, Anne, how did you feel it went?
I think my knees have turned to jelly.
All my worst nightmares came true. I could answer only half of the questions in one maths paper. I'm done for.
Don't be down in the dumps. We'll be able to see each other back here next year.
Oh! Now just look at that. What a beautiful sunset.
Ruby, have you got a dress for the graduation dance?
Yes. I sent my measurements home many times. My mother had a new dress made for me. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It's white and very pretty. Most probably it's very demure with a tidy high neck.
I saw my dressmaker yesterday. I ordered 3 different dresses right away, and I'll wear the one I like best of the 3. The best.
Well, I'll have to wear my old blue dress again, I'm sorry to say. I've had it for 2 years already, but it fits me and I look good in it. It's too bad, but I just can't afford a new one for the dance.
The question of which dress to wear to the graduation ball did not vex Anne. She was dreaming about being presented with the Avery Scholarship in front of a large audience, including Gilbert Blythe. The particular dress she would wear for the occasion was of no importance whatsoever. The next day, Anne and her friends waited tensely for the results to come out. Every one of them wondered if they would get the marks they were hoping for. If you want to find out how they did in their final examinations, don't miss the next episode of Anne of Green Gables.
湖は遠く燃える雲はもっと遠く